talk about a project I have shown you, I think 1 week ago or something, where I was talking about a concept for a portfolio page where you're not actually seeing the data like on a normal website, but have a chat interface where you can interact with the page and then get information that way. And I haven't added text input. I haven't added a text input field where the user can just enter text and then get responses like a normal chatbot. I made it a bit more static, so you cannot enter any content yourself, but you have buttons that you can click on and then get the content. So I'm going to show you the Figma that I built. I think 2 weeks ago I made a video about it, and I was showing you how basically it was working. And as you can see here, it got 4 different points, 4 different buttons down here, where you can then click on and see more data of the website. And here we got the first message that's always going to pop up right when you're seeing the website for the first time. When you're loading the website for the first time, you're going to see this data. And after you click the buttons, you're going to see more data, and that's kind of how you can get, more detailed data and actually get the things you really are interested in from the website. So if I click, for instance, on work, then some more buttons are going to come up beneath the chat bubble that's going to pop up, and these are going to describe like more detailed informations about what kind of thing you want to go into. So I'm just going to show you the JSON that I've built that is essentially structuring the whole website. So we can see here these chat bubbles. We have 4 chat bubbles, and each of them has action buttons. And these kind of define the next steps, the next kind of buttons. And we can see the first one actually has these 2 about in projects. That's kind of comparable with this one. And these are just different pop bubbles from here. So if I click on one of these buttons, then I'm going to see the chat bubble that has this content. So that's kind of how this system works essentially. Yeah, and I've got definitions for the action buttons. I called them action buttons, these 4 or 3 down there. And they got definitions like that. You can see the label, you can see the event, and the event is essentially then what's going to happen with the click event, or what's going to happen next after you've clicked. And you can see here we have got type and value. So the type is essentially, I can give you a few examples. Like one is chat. Chat is just gonna spawn another message essentially with action buttons again. Like here we have about, and then we have about the chat bubble with these action buttons. And then we have, what else do we have got? We have like download. Download is essentially just gonna trigger and download. So the linked file is gonna get downloaded. And then we have some simple links. So these are the 3. Oh, I also got mail here. So if you're gonna open this one, if you're gonna click on this button, then you're gonna see, then you're gonna just open the mail program. Like it's a link that is a special link, I would call it like that. And that's kind of how that works. Like this is the backbone of the whole thing. You have to set up a server where you're serving the JSON to another project I've built, or like the actual project, because this is just feeding the actual project with data, so it can then process input essentially, or content. And so I'm just gonna switch my project here on VS Code. Give me a minute. Okay, we've got that. Okay, let's just that's just an example. I'm already in the project, and here we can see how this looks like. I've got components for the action buttons. These are just rendering out the buttons itself. So we've got a download button, we've got mail button, and they differ in the sense that they have different actions and they look different. So here we have an SVG icon that is suitable to links. That's just an arrow that's pointing up to the right. And the magic really happens with the buttons in here, where we can see a simple switch statement. I used a reducer because that was the perfect use case for reducers, where there's just being an action, like type of the button is being passed to this reducer, and then the according action is going to happen. For chat, we are just going to append a new chat bubble to our state. So that's pretty straightforward. And then we have a link, and the link is just window open, that simple. Then we have mail, where we're just going to append the mail to, so the mail program is actually going to open. And then we have download, where we do the stuff in order to download the linked file. So that's kind of how that works, and that's kind of how I wanted to make it possible to support different kind of actions on the page. So yeah, and I'm going to show you my personal portfolio page that I built with it, where you can actually see how this whole thing then and works in live. So I'm just going to go here on the browser. I've already opened it. So you can see here, this is my portfolio website, where you can see these chat bubbles. And when I'm going to reload, we can see that the first chat bubble is just going to spawn. That's like the initial chat bubble. And then we have these three buttons. And if I click on one of them, then we're going to see the next chat bubble. So this one is just going to spawn in a new chat bubble, because it doesn't even have, that's kind of the default behavior of these buttons. And then we have three different new buttons. And you can see there's an arrow. This just indicates that they are links. And this one is, for instance, just links to my GitHub page. And that's kind of how I went about creating this system, and how these chat bubbles are supposed to, these are the action buttons, I'm sorry, how they are supposed to work, essentially. And yeah, we got different kind of buttons you can click on. For instance, here we have what I'm doing, like work, and then you can click on this link, and then you're gonna get referred to this website. And that's essentially it. But there are so many more ideas that I've got you could implement here. For instance, you could include data from different websites, from different APIs that you would just want to display on your portfolio website. For instance, like GitHub contributions, you could really nicely embed it in here, where you have a button where you can click on, and then you can see some, live activity or some data that you just want to display. And you could just integrate different categories of chat bubbles. And Matt Gleich, he has done this real well, I feel like, because he just includes really a bunch of different APIs in his website. And I think this is really a perfect example of how you could extend this here. You could just add, for instance, a new button, a new action button that is called like live data or activities or whatever, and then when you click on it, then for instance you can see what kind of music I'm listening to. You can integrate a few APIs for that. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of how I'm going to improve this later on. Obviously, you could also make it possible that you have a chat input, and text input, text input, where you enter text, and then you can just really communicate with the website in itself, like making an actual chatbot out of this. But yeah, you could just, then integrate some kind of LLM, and then give the LLM some kind of context about you, and have then a more dynamic experience. That's how I would call it. And yeah, there are definitely a few things that I want to improve in the future, but that's kind of the base right now. And yeah, I feel like the next thing I'm gonna do is probably include some buttons here. I'm gonna include a button here for dark mode. Then I'm gonna add maybe a button here where you can like the page and then see a live tracker of how often the page was liked. And yeah, these are just some goofy things to include, or like some funky, or I don't know how to describe, how I would describe that, like maybe some some non-functional things. That's what I want to say. And yeah, that's kind of what I'm starting with right now. And in the future, I'm gonna update you on what kind of things I'm gonna add to this page. But I left it at that for now. And the project is available on GitHub. It's on my GitHub. It's a public repo. You can check it out if you want. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, and I built the demo page just, or that this project in itself doesn't contain any data about me. My data is essentially just loaded by some web server that just serves these two JSON files, and that's kind of how I built my portfolio website, or like my version of it. and that's kind of that all of that works. So if you want to build it yourself, just make sure to set up on web server that serves the core JSON files, and yeah, then you just need to deploy this project yourself. I've covered all of it in the README, and yeah, here I've got a list where things. These are just kind of some kind of things that I want to add later on, like an initial loading animation where you see the chat loading in. Like right now, I've got just this kind of typewriter effect where each letter is getting spawned in with a timeout, but I would like to have some kind of animation where you just see some kind of bubble, and the bubble gets bigger and then transforms into the initial chat bubble here. So that's kind of how I would imagine it right now. And what else have we got here? Sticky arrow shot bubble animation. Not too sure what I meant with that, to be honest. Super ellipse border radius. So I would like to add the border radius you have on iOS devices. I think that just looks pretty neat. Then we have delay action buttons loading. That would essentially just mean that if you spawn a new item here, then each of them is gonna spawn sequentially. So you have some kind of animation, and that would just make it look a bit cleaner. Yeah. So what else do we got here? Like button is essentially what I already said. I think it would be pretty nice to fill out that space up there to just add a button where you can like the page. You can see it here. It's pretty unnecessary. It's pretty, like I already said, some kind of goofy feature. It's not really goofy. It is like just to fill out the space, to be honest. And yeah, then we have got this button, which is just for dark mode. Pretty self-explanatory, I would think so. Yeah, what else we got here? Add dark mode, like I already said. Button with animation and tracking consent. Yeah, like for some countries it is not possible, I think, to, or not allowed, legally allowed, that you're just tracking data from users. And if I would add a like button here, and then we would just have in text here like the amount of likes or whatever, then we would have an issue, because that's essentially tracking the data. And I don't know if that's allowed. I'm not too informed about the legal side of this, or if this already counts as like data user tracking or user analytics or whatever. I mean, it's just some kind of feature. I don't know if anyone is gonna get mad about this, but yeah, I would have to review that before I'm gonna implement it. So yeah, that's I think all, and that's kind of why I wanted to add an pop-up where you can then just accept the terms of service of the website. Terms of service is a bit goofy. It's not like a service website. It's not like I'm charging you for anything. But yeah, that's something I would keep in mind if I would go about implementing anything like that. So yeah, that's about that. Like button with animation, we already covered that. So yeah, I don't know how it would look like then if you had some tracking banner pop in, because I wouldn't want the website to load an actual cookie banner or something like that, or like some analytics pop up, because that just doesn't feel as clean as it does right now, with just the actual content, actual flash you were interested in loading, because that's essentially what the website is all about. It is all about just loading the actual data, like the interesting data, without any fluff. And yeah, so that's kind of why I'm a bit put off by the idea of implementing a banner that the user has to accept or interact with. I think that's all for it. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you kind of grasped the idea. It's just some kind of concept I had in my head, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm gonna see you in the next one, guys. Peace.